take me high, and baby, all I know, I ain't lost anymore. No, I ain't lost anymore. No, I ain't lost anymore. Finding a star tonight to hold our love up in the sky. Every moment I feel alive with you here by my side. Oh yeah, ain't gonna force it if it ain't right, but I would love if you stayed the night. You take me high, and baby, all I know, I ain't lost anymore. No, I ain't lost anymore.
I want you to jump like you trying to get stuck in the air. If you feeling so lit and don't care, shorty beating her face in the mirror, up in the air. I want you to jump, 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 up in the air. I want you to jump, jump. Like you trying to get stuck in it. In the air. Like you trying to get stuck in the air. I want you to jump like you trying to get stuck in the air. If you feeling so lit and don't care, shorty beating her face in the mirror, up in the air. I want you to jump like you trying to get stuck in the air. If you feeling so lit and don't care, shorty beating her face in the mirror, up in the air. I want you to jump, jump. I want you to jump, 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 up in the air. I want you to jump, 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 jump. Like you trying to get stuck in it. Gotta get it, in the air.
life, the finish in my life. Thank God for letting all the finish in my life, the finish in my life, the finish in my life. Thank God for letting all the finish in my life, the finish in my life, the finish in my life. Thank God for letting all the finish in my life, the finish in my life, the finish in my life. Thank God for letting all the finish in my life, the finish in my life, the finish in my life. Thank God for letting all the finish in my life, the finish in my life, the finish in my life. Thank God for letting all the finish in my life, the finish in my life, the finish in my life. is your voice in my head, telling me I should have just stayed in bed. But the lights are off and no one's home. I'm walking down an empty road, looking for a sign that I'm still here. Turn my face into the wind, start to lose my place again. Has this all just been a dream?
Cool. So. Actually, this is not accurate. There we go. Okay. Awesome. Hopefully I spelled that right, and hopefully I didn't embarrass myself. So, welcome everyone back to another one of my Coach's Corners. So, last week we covered SolidWorks, like an introduction, and I drew some parts out, or I drew a part out, and just kind of described, like, sketches and like basically deriving like features built on top of one another. This week I want to sort of dive right into playing with assemblies, SolidWorks assemblies, and for a fairly decent reason. One of them being, let's see here, transform. I want to center to screen horizontally. There we go. There are a lot of people out there that are making things, but these things are not just singular objects. These things are things that interact with each other and or form an assembly. And I just feel like that's the next logical step. I can go into great detail on making parts, but that's not what I want to do this week. I actually want to show you assemblies. Wow, you guys can hear my fan screaming. Let me see if I can move the mic away from the fans on my computer. That's a little better. Oh yeah, and so in other good news, I changed the battery in my smoke detector. So you guys shouldn't be dealing with the occasional chirp coming from various parts of my house. All right, so let's talk a little bit more about assemblies. I'm just getting a little bit squirrel moments today. So parts are parts, and parts are just one thing. Assemblies are multiple things all in one file. And they're put together in a way that makes sense. So for those of you that need me to get a little bit more in depth on assemblies, assemblies are a collection of items that, again, they'll work together. So think about, for example, a car. A car will have several parts. Like the wheel is a part, but the second that you put a tire on that rim or wheel, it technically becomes an assembly, but it becomes a sub-assembly. Just by saying I have a wheel with a tire on it doesn't mean that I have a car. It's when I take that sub-assembly and I attach it to, for example, the studs that hold the wheel on. That is another sub-assembly attached to a sub-assembly. And then you'll see things like sub-assemblies that have brakes. Suspension. Then we start talking about an engine, but the engine has pistons, and the pistons have connecting rods and rings and all these other things. So assemblies are just a bunch of parts all put together in some kind of way that makes sense and makes function happen. So that's what we're going to talk about today. And again, I am a monotone dude, so I apologize for that in advance. But hopefully you take something away from this video. The other thing that I want to cover, or that I'm going to tie into this week's class, which is coming very soon, to Go Create. Let me jump over to this. So today, as I'm talking about assemblies, we're going to actually be using parts from GoBuilda. And GoBuilda is a fantastic local company. And local is kind of it's an interesting word when we talk about GoBuilda. They are actually based out of Winfield, Kansas. Is it Winfield? Is it Winfield? I don't know. I always mess that up. But anyway, they're based out of Winfield, Kansas, and these people make really great kits and parts that you can use to make robotics, which is going to lead me into why I'm choosing to do assemblies today. So we're closing up a school year, but very, very soon we're going to try to feature GoBuilda parts in the Go Create facility, provided I get them to jump on board with us and help supply some kits. But essentially what's going to happen is we're going to try to get a few teams of robotics clubs put together at Go Create, and those teams will be able to build various robotics platforms to do either A, competing in FTC based events, B, pursue personal interests, like maybe you want to build a robot arm that automatically pulls your toast out of the toaster. I don't know. Maybe you're a bit of a scientist and you need a not necessarily a low entry level, but like a more accessible entry level to robotics. And GoBuilda parts actually are like a really good way to break into the world of robotics. I'm not being paid, by the way, for this. This is probably something that they didn't even expect me to do, but it makes good sense for today's lesson. The parts are fairly sturdy. I'm actually using them in some Air Force projects. These big aluminum rails here, they're actually on my robots that I'm building in the Air Force, and so they're holding up a fair amount of weight fairly well. So it's very entry level stuff, meaning it's easy for you're not so mechanically inclined all the way to you're incredibly mechanically inclined, and they are strong enough to go from entry level type of projects to complex projects. Like, for example, I was talking to Ethan from GoBuilda, and they actually used this stuff to make a full size sit on top of rover, and it was just fine. So, anywho, enough of that stuff. Just next time you go through the facility, just be sure to ask Ken or Kim about GoBuilda parts and when you'll be able to get your hands on them. But in the meantime, let's take a look at using some of these parts to make an assembly. And I just wanted to, start with something really simple. So when you go to their website, you'll be greeted with various types of like components, right? So if we go to structure, you'll see that they have various types of rails and beams and tubings, couplings, pattern plates, all that stuff. So we're gonna dig in. I'm gonna put my do not disturb on. We're gonna just dig in for now on the channel, and then we're going to scroll down, and right off the bat you can see some of their application photos. But we're gonna go ahead and go to the Series U channel, and then we'll take a look at this 3-hole length. And what's really cool is this is like something that really turned me on to the product, was they not only will give you some specifications for the channel, like the drawings, if you will, but they also give some like application examples. So they'll literally like give you examples of how to do various configurations of the product. So I'm just clicking through these really quickly. So there's something where you could like take a tube and adapt it to make fit on like a square platform. Here's a kind of want to be like gearbox, if you will. They're making beams here. And I was talking to Brian on this, the guy that owns this company, and I think at some point he alluded to, when you put these together as a beam, like they can support a lot of weight, and he was prototyping something that held the weight of a corner of a vehicle. So like take that and put that in your back pocket, okay? So these are just like application examples. So if you're trying to really get an idea of, how could we use this? Like right off the bat, I can see this right here, and I go, well, holy cow, I could take this and build this assembly using a very long piece of this, and now I have a camera slider. So if you're looking for that like super buttery smooth camera footage where you like can pan across a scene or in and out, like zoom in and out on a sort of like a camera dolly looking sort of deal, you could build it with these parts. Anywho, today we're going to attempt to recreate this construction. And by attempt, I seriously mean we're going to attempt, because I couldn't even, I don't think I correctly identified this gear, but anyway, let's get right into it. So we'll start off with our first part. Actually, what I'm going to do is just go ahead and go to new, drop down. I'm going to open up this. I'm going to say new assembly. All right, right off the bat, as soon as we hit new assembly, we're greeted with the begin assembly here on the left hand side. And it says, hey, select a component to insert and then place it in the graphics area, which is right here, and hit OK to locate it at the origin. Or top down using the layout with blocks, parts may be then created from the block. So what we're going to do, we're just going to keep this hopefully relatively simple. This 1120.003.96, this should be our rail, so we click that, and it's now in our graphics area. But now here's the kicker. You'll notice right off the bat, as soon as you put this first part in, it's got this little F that signifies that the part is fixed in location. And if I were to hover over this origin for the assembly, you'll notice that the origin is like way over here, but then the origin for this part is way down here. So that may not work for what we want to do. So let's say I wanted this part and this circle right here, this center circle, to be aligned with the origin of my assembly over there. Now we're about to learn the wonderful world of assembly and mates. So the first thing that we're going to do actually is create some reference geometry on this particular hole. Sorry, I'm not meaning to cough in your guys' ear. So I'm going to click a point, and I'm going to attempt to see if I can just place it. Maybe not a point. Let's try. Let's try an axis. Cool. So we get this little yellow line right here that gives me my axis. So that looks relatively promising there. Okay. Let's see if I can. First, let's just look at it from a. Try to look at it from a view here. This is a top-down view. Oh, actually, that's not what I want to do at all, guys. Let's get rid of that axis. Let's make our first mate before we get too crazy. So what I want to do actually is I want to mate this face with the top plane, but like it's not immediately shown, so you have to click this drop down on the left and choose the top plane from the assembly, not the part. So we click here. We're going to make it coincident. Oh, you know why it's not going to work? I'm sitting here going on and on and on about fixed. We need to make this float first. Okay, so now this is floating. Man, I'm just really messing you guys up today. So we mate, then we pick our top assembly, and there it goes. It snaps to align with top assembly, and it almost kind of looks now like there's a floor, because you see that reflection over here off to the side. So I like that. I'm going to go ahead and click the check mark to accept that. And then I'm going to pan, holding the control key on my keyboard and clicking the center scroll wheel on my mouse. And let's try again to create an axis here. So click axis. We will go. Actually, dude, I want to do one more. I want to do one more mate, I think, to make this like super cool. So what I'll do is I will actually create a plane between this face and this face, and you'll notice how the plane automatically like is smack dead in the middle. So I like that, and I'm going to go ahead and hit OK because that's what I want. And then I think I could do one more plane instead of trying to do the center point right here. I could probably do one more plane that would help me align this a little better. So I'm going to click on this face, oops, let's delete this as our reference, and we'll click on this face. And again, now I have my plane directly in the center of this part, so I'm pretty happy with that. So let's make this front plane, oh, no. Sorry guys, getting ahead of myself again. Let's erase that plane. We don't want that plane there. We do not want this plane right there. Okay, what we actually want to do is edit this part. So we right click on the part, the super long convoluted name, right click on that, and then we go to edit part. So please save it before editing imported component. Okay, so I'll just go ahead and save this as, we'll put it on my desktop for now so I don't get it mixed up with anything. And we'll call this go create go build a cool. Now I'll try to edit my part. Awesome. So here we go. First, we create reference geometry. So create a plane. We want to select this face, and we want to select that face. And again, it's right in the middle, so we're happy with that. And then I'm going to create another face between here. So we create a plane here and here. Got that centered. Cool. So we should have two planes, 1 and 2. Perfect. To exit editing this part, we'll go ahead and just use this little icon up in the upper right hand of the graphics screen. So we'll exit the part. Alright, cool. So now I'm going to take this plane, click on the mate. This is like a little flyout menu, so when I click it, there's a flyout menu, so we click mate, and we are going to mate this with the right plane. Nope, the front plane. Perfect. We accept that one, and then we click on plane 2, and this one will be aligned with the right plane. Perfect. Like it. Awesome. Now, if we take a look at origin, our origin is literally smack dab in the middle of the part. So I'm very cool with that. Actually, it's in the center of the bottom of the part, but I'm not going to continue pursuing this. So we'll hide that plane. We'll hide that plane, just keep things decluttered. Alright, awesome. Now, let's bring in another part. So we'll go to our assembly, and we, up in the top portion here, we can insert components. But before I do that, I want to make sure that I've got the right stainless steel 6mm. So it's 2101. So what we can do is go to our SolidWorks. We're going to go to File, Open. I've actually got all of these things saved, so it's going to be a little bit easier for me to find what I'm looking for, I think. So go build a shaft, de-shafting, and I think they are talking about a 6mm, so it should be 6mm. And I'm just going to take a wild guess. Pick. Yep. Okay, cool. And awesome. So let's go back to our assembly. And up in this menu area, there's the little icon that says insert a part or insert a component. So we'll click that, and we have our opened parts to choose from. So let's click that. So there's a bearing. I want to click that one more time, and let's see what this one is. This is a shaft. Let's see, what is this? This is a pulley, or sorry, a gear. I should be seeing some more than that, so let me. Okay. So this needs to be saved. Yep. I need this gear here. Also need this as well. So now if I go back to this assembly, I wonder if it'll let me. Yes, yes it will. So here's our clamp hub thing. We need, what is this? A gear. Let's look at our picture and see where we are on. So we got, I think we got everything. Pretty much got everything. All right, cool. So let's go back to the assembly. To make things a little bit easier on us, I'm going to sort of just adjust the colors on all these various parts. So in the right hand side, you'll notice that I've got this little flyout menu. There's this one that has like this multicolored ball on the right. It says appearances, scenes, and decals. I'll click that. I'm going to go to painted. Car should give us enough options, so I'll make the rail be this blue color. I'll make this gear be a nice cool like gold color. I want to do the same thing with this gear here. And you'll notice, like, if you really want to get super Gucci with it, you can just also change the hardware color. So now our hardware has like cool like anodized look to it. And let's make our, we're gonna leave our bearing silver because, like, why not? So let's do this metallic cool gray on that. Same thing with that there. Okay, awesome sauce. We have all of our parts, but you may notice that they look a little bit like we need some extra parts here. So let's see, let's highlight some bearings because we know we need 4 of these. So we'll hold our control key and hover over the title and drag a new one on. We'll place it right over there. We'll do this again, and we somehow got ourselves 2 because we were holding the control key and doing that nonsense. Let's see, I need 1 more of these shafts. Like, full disclosure too, guys, like, this gear may be entirely too big for the meshing of these gears to take place, but that's neither here nor there. So let's start with making a mate for the bearings. So to do this, we just simply click on our first face. This flyout menu comes up and we'll click mate. Okay, and then I'm gonna click on this round face here. I could click on this circular, this line, but because I clicked on this face, I want to click on this face as well. You'll notice that it kind of infers, either on this flyout menu or on this flyout menu to the left, it kind of infers like, hey, I'm seeing 2 round objects. These things should probably be concentric. And in this case, they're correct. We definitely think that these should be concentric. And then, of course, you can lock the rotation. So for now, what I'll do is just hit lock rotation and the check mark to say I approve of this mate. And then I'm going to come over here, zooming in still, and I want to get this face. See if they'll let me. Yep, get that face. And then I'm going to come over here and hit this face. And you'll notice that it infers that it should be coincident, meaning that they sort of are in the same place where they meet. They don't intersect each other, but they, like, one face mates to the other face. So we'll hit add or finish mate. And we have our first bearing in place. I would like to add that these bearings, I think the Go Builda people actually have bearings that have a D shaft, but I could not find it in their repository, so whatever. So you'll see that it's locked. Like, I'm trying to spin it, but it doesn't want to spin. Okay. So what if we wanted that to spin? Well, first of all, let's do this. Let's take this and let's fix this again so that it would spin theoretically. But if you really wanted that to spin, which if you think about it, this bearing, this outer sleeve may not spin. It would probably be fixed in place, but I'll just click this. I'll right click it and hit edit feature. And then here you can just unclick lock rotation, check mark once more, and now the bearing is moving. But I don't like that, so I'm just going to lock my rotation back up. Okay, let's do this another 3 times. So we click our face, we mate, let's click this face here, lock rotation, and I like that. I want to get this face here, that face there, coincident. Okay. That one, lock rotation, accept. See, I can just get that face. Nice. That face, accept. This face here, lock the rotation. And I can do this face first if I want, and it goes transparent. So now I can just come over here and say, right there. Notice how I click through. All right, super cool. Now let's try another mate by, let's see what happens if I click this face and I click the inside face of this. It will again make it concentric, but this time I'm not going to lock the face. and you'll notice like I can spin it, and I can also push it in and out while I'm spinning it. So it still has some degrees of freedom that we can lock down. But for now, you know, honestly, I think what I need is probably some longer. I think I probably need some longer shafts because that's not going to be enough. So let's go here. Let's click browse. Go build a shafting. Okay, shafting. I'm gonna change my filter. Let's get something gnarly. Let's get 120. That's like gonna be entirely too long, but I don't care. So let's see. Let's drag on this cool metallic color. That seems legit. What part is this? We'll go ahead and get rid of this part and accept the deletion of this concentric mate. Same thing here. Get rid of that. Yes. Okay. Control click to get two of those bad Johnnies. Perfect. Click this face, fly out menu, mate. Concentric, not locked rotation. Let's do that once more. Okay. Let's take and add our gear to, ooh, let's not do that. Let's clear that selection for now. So on this first gear, it's got this little D-shaped bore on the inside there, and that prevents this gear from slipping on the shaft. So we'll obviously want to take this flat face and then come over here and select that flat face. And yes, that should probably be concentric, I think. No. There's some weirdness going on there. So let's go and get rid of that last one. Let's get rid of that. Yes. I'm gonna make an attempt to say concentric. We'll flip directions, hit OK. But now it's not. Let's see if we can do this. Hold on, I gotta mute my mic. Okay, so yeah, my daughter is apparently not happy about taking her shower today. Cool. So while I was muted on the mic, you can see that I did constrain. Oh. I did manage to constrain this flat face to this flat face. So now that kind of works in a realistic thing, but I need to constrain some more degrees of freedom, so I'll click this face and this face and say I want these faces to be coincident. So we've got that locked down fairly well. I will, for the sake of argument, just click that face there and this face, and that will keep that coincident. And hopefully, yep, it still rotates just perfectly fine. It doesn't slide around. I think really, honestly, you would probably want to take this guy and see if it fits on this guy. Lock the rotation. Then just put this face on that face. So if you were twisting that, now that whole piece moves, and it's a bit sloppy because I don't think the ID of this coupling matches the OD of this shaft, but I was just kind of trying to quickly find all of their parts and make some kind of assembly video. But either way, you can see that when this assembly is rotating, so is the whole shaft, everything is being fixed as if it were being clamped onto the shaft, so that's no problem there. I still need this side to be done, so oh, that's what I'm missing. Let's add more parts. I have a couple of these that I need, so let's get this, bring that out. All right, so let's do this first. Let's take and mate this, oops, that face. Let's mate this up with that face. Okay, we'll hit all right. Slide that over, and we can see that this is probably an easy one to hit, so we make that concentric. And because it already lines up well with the holes, these 4 holes, I'm just going to go ahead and cheat and hit lock rotation. So now that works. And then what I want to do is attempt to put this guy concentric with that guy. Wowzers. Let's flip that around. Yeah, that's clearly not the right size clamp. Very much not the right size clamp, but we'll make those coincident. Let's just pretend there's like a perfectly sized grommet in there that's locking that rotation, or that's keeping that space perfectly. All right, so we got that. When we rotate we need to lock this up somehow. So let's do this. Cancel. There's a mate down here that needs to be coincident. Let's edit this one, unlock its rotation, click the check mark, and there we go. Now it's perfect. So we click that face, made it there, made it there. That looks acceptable. And then we have our super monstrosity of a clamp that doesn't fit over here, so we'll just put that on. We'll say yes, and then we will mate that face with that face. okay. And yeah, like I said, this gear is not the right size to this gear, and I would just have to go and find like the right size gear and obviously better hubs to make that a little bit more realistic. And then there's also a little thing we can do to make the gears play nice. So like in real life, we know that if I spun this gear would react. So maybe I'll pull that up in like a separate live stream when we get a little bit more, like we're gonna study some, scientific gear ratios and such. But anyway, I just wanted to kind of like jam through this assembly stuff so that you can get an idea of like how you can use those easy to find parts. Let's see. I want to find this. Which one is this? Get those easy to use parts, and then maybe jam out like a quick little innovation, right? So let's see. Where is that gear? It's this one. It's a 108. So let's see if I can get a 90. So we go to gears, 2302, all files. Let's get a 90. I wonder if a 90 would fit. I don't think it was that. Maybe it's let's see. Let's do an insert. Uh, 90. And of course this hub is like way too big. Let's face this up with that, make that concentric and just look. So it probably needs to be a 96. So we'll cancel that. Let's do insert part, browse. (2302) 96. That looks a tiny bit more promising. So first of all, let's get rid of this one. Hit yes. And then let's get rid of this 108 for funsies. Yes. Let's mate this with that. Flip it. Finish mate. Nope, it is not the right size one, so let's take this part, let's get rid of it, let's put the 100 in there. It has been a hot minute since I've played with Go Build a Stuff. Yes. Insert 2302 100. Yeah, I think this has got a better chance of working out. Let's make that concentric. Hit OK. Yeah, buddy. That's what I'm talking about. So in theory, that's a more realistic gear situation. And I was playing with these gears in my shop because I went out and bought a bunch of them, and it's funny because you can actually take and assemble this gear system. Like you can assemble a bunch of them and then stack them on top of each other, and it will do the whole like gear reduction or vice versa. And like it's kind of fun because you can like really do some experiment with speed and torque. But anyway, so we have our assembly. Hooray for us, Okay. Now, just because I am all about, so rebuild and save, I'm going to go through like one extra step here. And this is a completely worthless, well, not worthless step, but this is completely unnecessarily related to what we're talking about. So I really want to do visualize, so I'm going to go through the SolidWorks visualize export process. I really like doing visualizations, doing really cool renders. Let's see, let's take our camera. Let's readjust that. Let's zoom in some. So the whole visualize thing, it's a really fun tool that you can use to like if you're trying to make like a really cool digital representation and print it out. Maybe you like make a product in SolidWorks, and you just like want to show it off without actually having to build it. This is the way to go. Let's see here. I'm going to go to a new environment, new HDN environment. Let's go with a blurred studio. See what that looks like. Delete. Cool, kind of, not terrible. Okay, so I've got an environment. I'm just gonna get rid of some of these extra things that I don't need, just to declutter things a little bit. Get rid of this light, and that light. So one of the things that I like to do when I'm doing these renders is add my own lights. So what I'll do is I'll look at the part as if I'm a light bulb, and I will add a new light. I will match current camera, and then I'm gonna make a color. So we'll come in here and just give it a red, kind of like a red glow. Maybe turn my brightness down a skosh. Alright, and then I come over on the top here. I'm gonna add a new light, match current camera. I'll add a second one over here. Add a new light, match current camera. Make this one a blue color. Super cool. So like now I got that blue, I got my light that's coming up from the top, and I got my red. So let's go to my environment. Let's flatten our floor. This environment actually looks really lame, so let's try another one. New HDR environment. Directional light. Nope, don't like that one either. Let's see, environments. Let's try. And this one's not like awesome, but it's better than nothing. So we just flatten the floor to make it look like it's on the ground. Almost kind of looks like there's a sunset back there. kick up my floor shadow some. Man, like, I'm just not digging that at all. So now it makes it look like this thing is sitting on the floor in this super Gucci interior. So let's flatten the floor, turn on floor caustics. So now it's being reflected. We can see our blue light and our red light being reflected in the floor as well. That's kind of lame, but that's what you get when you do the floor. Let's turn the floor roughness up. Alright, so once you are done playing with that, then you would come over to the output tools, render it as a JPEG, and hit start render, and it begins this process. And depending on how complex and how many shadows and stuff like that, dictates like how long it actually takes to render. So while I'm letting this one render out for 7 minutes, allow me to bore you with some more talk. Yeah. So this week, this week and last week, we covered SolidWorks parts and SolidWorks assemblies. I'm thinking next week I will go either into playing around with SketchUp, even though Go Create doesn't have SketchUp, because I think that you might find that tool like valuable for you to use. You know, maybe you're trying to plan like how your startup store is going to look, or doing some garden planning, or in my case, I use SketchUp a lot to design the rooms in my house, because it's like, you know, my wife is super fiscally responsible, and when I'm trying to pitch an idea, a lot of times it's just easier for me to render it and make a 3D version of the room that I'm getting ready to do a little remodel on, so she can see it, and it helps to get her more excited about it, and thus allows me to go to Lowe's and spend some money on projects. So I'll either play around in SketchUp next week and show you guys some of that stuff, or I will go into Adobe Photoshop. That is going to be based on the feedback I get from you guys. So if we get comments on these videos that you guys specifically ask for Photoshop, or if you ask me for another type of software guide through whatever, or if you want to get back to coding, make the comments. You can comment on Instagram, whatever, Facebook pages, whatever it takes. I will find that comment and hopefully give you guys what you need to succeed. So I think that should be it for now. I will go ahead and just cancel this. So thanks for tuning in, guys. Next Tuesday, and again, just make sure that your feedback makes it to us either through comments or messages, and I will make an attempt to solve your problems with software or answer your questions, whatever you want to call it. Cool beans. Take care, guys.